welcome back to The Working Actor, Season 3 of The Working Actor on Casting Workbook. And I am so happy to be back here for Season 3. So thanks for having me. And I hope you guys have all been having some great times, nailing your auditions. And if you're still having some questions on how to perfect the perfect audition, do I have a treat for you today to kick off Season 3 of The Working Actor. I know Season 2 was a little hard to beat. I have to say that I had some highlights with Season 2. We had some legendary casting directors, some really awesome talent. We were part of the Audios Awards. And now today is no different. To kick off Season 3, we have a legend in the casting industry. I think this guy should be inducted into the Daytime Hall of Fame. I think we're going to work on doing that. But in the meantime, if you are a fan of General Hospital, who isn't, right? I hear the screams all around the world. This man is responsible, for perhaps all of the people who have been on General Hospital in the last 30 years. That's right. I am talking about the one, the only Mark Teschner, who is here on The Working Actor with Casting Workbook to help you nail your next audition and also to kind of give you some tips on how you can enter the daytime or primetime or anytime acting field. Mark, thank you so much for being with us.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
You know, it's such a treat to talk to you because, I mean, like so many of us, right? I grew up watching General Hospital. I grew up with a mom who loved daytime soap operas, and me and my sisters would always make it a point to schedule time at 3 o'clock to watch General Hospital. And here we are today talking to the man who is literally responsible for all the actors who have been on that screen every time I watch General Hospital. So congratulations to all of your accomplishments.
Oh, thank you so much. I love doing the show and I love doing these kind of things.
You are a 10-time Emmy Award winning casting director, 7-time Audios Award winning director. When you think and you see all your accomplishments and people keep, hailing your praise, what comes to mind of maybe some of your biggest achievements throughout your career?
Wow. Well, the awards are great.
Yeah.
But I love the job. And when I first took over the show in 1989, I wasn't thinking about awards or anything like that. Just, I want to do a good job with a show that everybody knows, including myself. I grew up on the East Coast and the show was on at 3 p.m. after school. And if I wasn't doing sports, it would be on in the background. So knowing that I was stepping into the arena of such an iconic pop culture show that everyone knew, I wasn't thinking about awards. I was just thinking about, I want to do a really great job. And I just moved here from New York to do the show, and I better learn the talent pool really quickly. That's the stuff that I was thinking about at the time.
Now, there obviously had to have been a lot of pressure taking on this role. And I know you're a trained actor. So I want to just go back to maybe your earlier days when you were considering maybe acting as a career rather than casting directing. And how did you make the transition?
The transition was surprisingly simple. I grew up doing all the plays, and majoring in English and theater in college and going to New York City as an actor, ostensibly. And after about 3 years of pursuing acting in New York with some success, but not nearly what, one would hope for, I realized that I liked the idea of being an actor more than actually being an actor. And that's a pretty big epiphany to have. And then in short order, I heard of an opening in a casting office. And I went, I went as basically an unpaid assistant, then became the associate, then became a partner. But from the first day, I went from being struggling actor to struggling casting assistant. I knew I'd found my calling. I loved it because all the things that I was trained for as an actor, the craft of acting, are a wonderful foundation for a casting director, because the baseline before anything as a casting director is knowing good acting. So when you're a trained actor, you certainly have a certain sensibility. So I already brought that into the mix. I grew up going to Broadway shows, so I knew the talent pool, and I faked it for a while until I got to know more actors. And, like anything, the more you study acting, the more you have worked as an actor, the better your craft. I am a better casting director now than when I started 39 years ago as a casting director. So I've developed my eye through the years, but the acting training was what brought what I brought to the table in terms of communicating with an actor. So that if an actor's reading and I want to give an adjustment, I can give it from a very organic place in terms of the work, as opposed to do this or do that, which isn't really an adjustment. Right. So I can communicate in a way where I'm speaking the actor's language to hopefully open up the possibilities in an actor's work. So that is something that I would not have had as a casting director if I hadn't studied acting. Now, to be clear, that's not the only prerequisite. You don't have to have been an actor to be a casting director, but in my case, it's really served me.
You know, Rolling Stone, so many people, I've watched so many interviews with you talking to different people, and I've read that Rolling Stone magazine named you the actor's casting director. You got TV Guide, who has praised you as, an unparalleled track record for discovering new talent. And you had said that you liked the idea of being an actor, but you didn't really like being an actor. And I'm wondering, maybe is the reason why so many people are praising you is because you're doing perhaps what you wanted to receive as an actor when you were in training?
That is a great point. I would say that's definitely part of what I feel I bring to the table as a casting director. I know what it's like to be a struggling actor. I know what it's like to walk into a room and feel a coldness or feeling dismissed before you even had a chance to see what you can do. Yeah. So it wasn't a conscious thought, but I was never going to create that kind of environment. So for me, if an actor walks into audition, and I've auditioned obviously in 32 years at General Hospital, tens of thousands of actors, I never want them to feel like they're walking into a room where there's somebody that's not supportive of them. Even if I know from the moment I see them that they're not right for the role, I'll still be present for that time I have with them, because maybe they'll be right for another role down the road. And so much of the casting that we do comes from actors that maybe have read for one role that weren't right for the role, or we didn't cast for other roles. So my job, I always feel, is to remember actors, not to forget. So I certainly try to create an environment where the actor feels safe and comfortable, where they can do good work. Because think about it, I need the actor to do good work. I hope everybody heard that. We need the actors as casting directors. So I need the actor to be amazing. So if I'm not giving a good energy or not creating a place where they feel safe and present, I'm actually not helping my cause at all by not helping put them in a place where they can do their best work. So we both benefit from kindness.
And you know what? I know that a lot of times compassion and kindness is really big for you. And I see that. And even while speaking with you before we did the show, you seem like such a really down-to-earth, great guy who just wants to see people genuinely succeed in this industry.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that is in this industry battles and fights to try to, whether you're a gaffer, a cameraman, an actor, whatever it is, you have to really be passionate about it, because the numbers are so staggering. And, I just respect anybody that's, hanging in there trying to do it, because it's so difficult and so challenging. It doesn't need to be an additional challenge walking into my office. And the casting directors that I know, we're all rooting for the actor. Each cast director has their own sensibility and their own energy, but we are all rooting for the actor. We want them to do well. I always tell actors, if we had the role cast, we wouldn't actually be holding auditions. So every time you walk in the room, it's an opportunity to create good work. Yeah. Now, notice I didn't say to get the job.
No.
Because you can be amazing and just not get the jobs. You're not what we are looking for, whatever that might be. But good work is what gets remembered. So you're winning the room, even if you're not winning the role, as it were, because good work gets remembered. And all casting directors bring in actors multiple times if they feel there's a spot for them. I know actors that have auditioned 6, 7, 8 times for other casting directors that cast multiple shows. And they said, it's so frustrating. I've been in 7 times. I'm like, yes, you've been brought in 7 times because they like you enough to keep bringing you in. Just keep going at it. And same with me. I've brought actors in multiple times where it just, wasn't their turn. But if somebody's interesting and there's a possibility, I'll still continue to bring them in. And any casting director is the same way.
So, what is a day like for you in terms of going through the audition process? I'm sure you see hundreds of thousands of people weekly. How do you go about finding the right person for the role?
Sure. Well, the process doesn't change, but my day has changed post-COVID
Okay.
in terms of how it looks. But in general, or in General Hospital, for the years prior to COVID, I would get in and I read scripts to see what roles are coming up. It could be an under five, it could be a day player, could be a recurring role. I'm called into the producer if there's a big contract or recurring role coming up, and they'll write an audition scene for that. And then I begin the process of casting every speaking role that comes up. It could be for one line or a 3-year contract. So every day there's a script, every day there's something that I have to cast. Now, the bulk of my energy in terms of auditioning actors goes into series regular roles where we're looking for that special person, that quote unquote star for each role, somebody who's an incredible actor who has emotional range, charisma, presence, all the indefinable things to go with the craft of acting. And for that, I will see as many actors as I need to that are right. Now, that would normally mean, so if I was seeing 400 actors for a role, it would mean I'd be seeing 40 actors a day for 10 days while still casting the other roles. Now, with all of our casting ostensibly being online,
Right.
through self-tapes, I can actually see more actors for the role because I don't have the constraints of seeing an actor every 7 minutes. I have open-ended days where I can view auditions as they come in real time. So it creates much more opportunity actually for the actors. So for example, we have an actress on the show, Avery Pohl. She started airing a couple of months ago. She plays Esme. She's this amazing 19-year-old actress. So I released a breakdown. There were about maybe 3,000 submissions. I auditioned 650 actresses. Now, because it was online, I could see 650 auditions. Whereas if I was in the office, based on time constraints, maybe I could have seen 350.
Wow.
So 300 additional actresses got an opportunity because I can see more this way. So my process, in answer to your question, is I view auditions. I'm constantly viewing auditions, coming up with ideas, reading scripts. And then in the case of this particular role, I then send my callbacks to my executive producer, and he whittled it down to people he wanted to see in person. So out of the 650 actresses, he eventually wanted to see 11 actresses in person. That's Frank Valentini, my executive producer. So we brought 11 actresses in for the callback, which required all of them to COVID test 48 hours before coming in the building. I myself had to COVID test 48 hours coming into the building because we have a very rigid set of protocols. You can't come in, whether you're cast, crew, or staff, without testing every 48 hours. Mm-hmm. So after everybody, passed their COVID test, they came in and auditioned. The actor auditioning wasn't wearing the mask. Everybody else was, social distancing. And then we whittled it down to 5 actresses to screen test the following week. And they came back and screen test. But the callback and the screen test were only 2 of the 5 days that I've been back in the office in the last year.
It's, you know what, it sounds overwhelming. And as an actor, to listen to you speak right now, your job, you're screening and you're auditioning all of these talented actors from all around the world. Because of COVID, you can now do them virtually.
Correct.
How would you motivate an actor who's listening to you right now to convince them or to encourage them that they like, don't give up, you have a shot. Just because I'm auditioning all of these amazingly talented actors, there's still a way for them to stand out.
Well, at the end of the day, I can't create that motivation or passion
Mhm.
in an actor. But hopefully everybody that is an actor or pursuing acting has a passion where they feel they are talented and unique enough to stand out and just continue at it. It relates to what I said earlier, where the casting directors are on the actor's side. We want somebody to nail it. The best feeling in the world as a casting director is where you feel, oh my God,
Mm.
this person would be great. Or in many cases, these people would be great for the role. The worst feeling in the world for a casting director is you've looked and you've looked and you feel on a gut level
Yeah.
that you don't have it yet. And every casting director experiences that. And I know when I feel that after reading 300 actors, I just feel for whatever reason, what I'm looking for hasn't yet
Yeah.
come in the room. You just keep looking until you find it. So the inspiration for the actor is knowing that every time you audition, you have a shot, or we wouldn't be holding the auditions. And, you know, it's funny because it's such a dichotomy. The actor wants to walk in the room and have that moment of connecting in the room, the energy of somebody that's there in person.
Mhm.
The casting director, the producer. We love that too. I love connecting with an actor and then doing the work, but we don't have that at the moment. And the actor now has to understand that they have to connect through their work, you know, on camera. And it's different, but at the end of the day, it's still your work that's done on camera that is going to be what creates that possibility. So, as detached as it might feel every time an actor does a self-tape, they're still getting an opportunity, and probably getting an opportunity that they might not have had if we were doing in-person auditions because of time constraints. So if I'm on the fence about seeing an actor, I don't have to think about it. I'll give them the audition. So I just think that the actor has to keep up their positive outlook, that every time they get an audition, it's an opportunity, and it's not going into a wasteland where somebody is not watching it. Every audition is viewed, or a casting director wouldn't be giving out an audition. So, and here's the motivation. That's how actors are getting cast, through their auditions. So every time you audition, you have a chance of getting cast, because that is how it's being done at the moment. And I don't know, you know, one of the questions I get asked a lot is, when are we going back to in-person auditions? Nobody has an answer. Nobody knows. I have a couple of friends that cast commercials, and they've started to do in person, but the theatrical community so far, very few people are doing it. As I said, we've done it in extreme situations where we've done 2 talent tests on set, where we needed to have the actor in person working opposite the actor that's already on the show. But all of our auditions have still been virtual. And I think it's going to be a hybrid down the road, where I don't think, again, this is Mark Teschner's opinion, it's not necessarily the consensus of the casting community, but I think we're going to be in a hybrid situation where the bulk of auditions for an indeterminate future will be online, as we gradually get into more in-person auditions. But I don't know that, I don't see in the near future that situation where I would be able to have 400 actors coming in person to audition for a role.
Right. Mark Teschner, you are a legend in this industry. And as I mentioned off the top, I feel that there should be a Daytime Hall of Fame for you. We're going to work on that. You're also an Emmy Award winner, a multi-Emmy Award winner. And when you think of the Quartermaine family on General Hospital and Port Charles, and how characters have come and go throughout the years, but you know, you can guarantee that there's going to be something happening with the Quartermaines and the Spencers, and all of these characters that so many people are attached to, like a Sonny Corinthos and a Carly. And I fell in love, obviously, with Jagger in my days when I was watching General Hospital. Was there a character that you really, I guess, took to heart and just love the fact and were so proud of that you cast?
Well, you know, you like to think they're all your babies.
I know.
As,
You can't choose your favorite baby. I know.
fortunately, in real life, I only have one child, so I don't even have to make a choice. But you know, every role has its unique set of challenges. There's no such thing as an easy role to cast.
Mhm.
The hardest roles to cast are the recasts of a popular character because an actor chooses to leave the show after 3, 4, 5 years. And if it's a popular character and you still need that character to continue, you're dealing with a recast. So the challenge is finding an exciting, interesting actor to fill the shoes of another actor and find a way to make it their own as well. So whenever we have a recast, that's when I'm prepared for the most challenging aspect of what I do. And because we're on the air every day, 250 episodes a year, 57 years plus, the show goes on. Unlike primetime, where you don't see a recasting of a character, they're either gone or they've finished the 5-year run, we carry on if a character is deemed crucial with a new actor playing the role. A great example would be Laura Wright, who plays Carly.
Yes.
One of the main characters on the show. She's been on the show for, I'm going to guess, 15 years and probably off on that. She's an Emmy-winning actress. She's the fourth Carly.
She's my favorite Carly. She's my absolute favorite Carly.
And every Carly has been different, because when Carly initially started, she was a young woman in her 20s. Sarah Brown played the role when she was all of 20 years old. She created the role. She won 3 Emmys in a row, left the show. Then Tamara Braun came in. And if it's a good recast, which hopefully it is, we keep the character going. But Laura's a great example of a great recast where she made it her own and brings this fierceness, but also this soulfulness and this emotional vulnerability. And people love her. Yet people are probably not aware, if they're not longtime viewers, that she's the fourth actress to play the role. So those are always the most challenging roles. But you know, like I say, every role to me has its challenge. I remember when I was casting the series Port Charles, which was the spin-off of General Hospital. It was on the air for 6 years, and it was actually Grey's Anatomy before there was Grey's Anatomy, because it was based on, there were going to be 8 interns in the hospital trying to make it in General Hospital. So it was a different spin on the show, and we crossed over some main characters from General Hospital onto Port Charles. So that had its own challenge. So for the 8 series regulars, I auditioned 1,750 actors in New York, LA, and Chicago. And back then, it would be, I flew to Chicago, I flew to New York. This was pre all of this. And so there was the stress of finding the right 8 interns out, you know, and looking all over, ostensibly all over the country to find them. So that had its own set of stresses. But it's exciting, you know.
For sure.
I never lose sight of the fact that my stress is finding the right actor for a show. And there will always be the right actor playing the role. I don't have the stress of being a trauma surgeon where every decision is life or death. There are so many other worlds of stress out there that I definitely put my stress in perspective of, hey, you know, we'll find an amazing actor. It'll get there. But relative to other stresses, I have no illusion. You know, I'm not curing cancer. I'm creating opportunity and also doing work that will keep a show going and be relevant and impactful as well. But it's a different kind. So I never really lose sight of that. My stress is really relative to the rest of the stress in the world.
And going, it has. I mean, I think General Hospital is the longest running daytime soap opera for ABC. It's seen in different countries around the world. It's been on, I think, for close to 58 years. You haven't been there for 50 years, but you've been there for 32. And I remember as a student, I would go to school and I would record it on VHS and then binge watch it on a Friday night and over the weekend on my VHS recorder. So I think I'm showing my age, but the storylines are so great and it's cast so perfectly. And I'm wondering if we can now attack this. Can we dispel the stigma of soap operas and daytime acting and how amazing and how skilled these actors really must be? Because for a while, don't you find there was a little bit of a stigma when it came
Yeah.
to you're a soap opera star?
When I first started 32 years ago, there was that stigma, but through the years, that stigma has disappeared. It's very difficult to get cast on a soap. It's no longer, oh, you're pretty, you should do a soap. That's such
Right.
a simplistic myth that anybody that's knowledgeable about the business, about acting, realizes that's just a stereotype. That's an old one. The skill level is extraordinary on the show. We create stars. We bring in veteran actors who have been award-winning actors to the show. The caliber of acting is phenomenal. And one of the things that I think has helped make people realize that is they see how, you can put on a television show and there's a good chance that on almost at least half the shows, the leads came from a daytime drama.
Yeah.
So the crossover, which has been extraordinary, both in terms of television stars and movie stars, is so prevalent that it's all blended. And I think it's really helped to dissipate this, years old stereotype that does not exist anymore. And not only is it hard to get a soap, but the work is so challenging. If you're on a show, forget not just the volume that a young actor would have, but the emotional range and intensity of storyline that we are asking actors to connect to. The emotional complexity of these characters day in, day out is extraordinary. And we're demanding these actors do it every day for a year. I mean, they don't work every day. Each actor doesn't work every day, but the magnitude of the work that an actor has to do emotionally on the show is staggering. And I always feel that if you can do daytime, you can do anytime, not necessarily the other way around.
Yeah, I would agree. Like you said, there's just so much crossover. And I think the landscape has changed, right? Because like you had said, it used to be a separation where you did TV or you did film, you couldn't do both. And now you see it happening everywhere. I'm wondering though, do you still keep in contact with your musical buddy, Aaron Sorkin?
I do not keep in contact. Wow, that's pretty amazing that you pulled that. Yes, Aaron Sorkin and I played in a high school rock band called the Electric Sun.
Mm-hmm.
We were together for about a year. We were terrible.
Really?
I think he was a pretty good bass player.
Mm-hmm.
I was possibly the world's worst drummer, but hey, I had the drum set and we played covers. I've bumped into him occasionally, but I really haven't stayed in touch. My favorite Aaron moment post Electric Sun,
Mm-hmm.
which was our incredible band, was when he invited me to the first ever staged reading of A Few Good Men in New York City before it became a play or a movie. It was the first reading. That was a really exciting evening in the theater. And then it's like, man, this guy is an incredible writer. But no, we don't stay in touch and occasionally run into each other.
I was brought up that question because I was wondering if you ever saw an Aaron Sorkin movie like the Trial of the Chicago 7 or Molly's Game and said, I could have done a better job casting that.
Never, I don't. And the other thing is the casting on all his projects has been extraordinary. As a casting director, I don't watch something and say, oh, I could do better, or oh, this is who I would cast. I watch a project just like anybody else. I'm caught up in it and I'm involved. And, there are so many wonderful actors and there are so many wonderful casting directors that the quality of the casting on whether it's a film or a series, all the things I watch is really wonderful. So I've never said, oh, I would have done better or I would have done this person. Casting is so subjective. Cast directors, we have a joke. We say everybody has two jobs, their job and casting. Because it's one of those things where if people's watching a show, nobody says, oh, I would have, like, if you're a viewer watching a television show, you're not saying, oh, I would have changed the lighting, or I would have changed, it's always about,
Right.
oh, I think so-and-so would have been great in the role. So no, I never do that.
So what made you say, in the end, what made you say that casting director was the lifestyle that was suitable for you? What was it that convinced you that this was the path you wanted to take and not give acting a second shot?
From day one, it just felt right.
Hmm.
All of a sudden, all of my training and my skills went into something bigger than just acting. It went into the project. And even though for the first year or so, I was really, barely paid as an assistant, in 1982, starting with very little work, and then gradually as a casting director, you build a body of work, and then somebody refers you and you start getting work. But even when I was starting out and struggling, I knew I had found what I love. So there wasn't really any specific moment, except it just felt like such the right fit that I never had one moment of missing acting, or if I was reading with an actor in an audition feeling, oh, I could be doing this. And thank God, because that would be a terrible feeling to have, that you're on the other side of where you want to be. So once I made the decision to leave acting and found an opportunity in casting, I never looked back. I just knew for me it was right. It was funny. The first day I worked in an office, I noticed that agents that would never take my call as an actor trying to reach them would take my call. So I was like, well, that's pretty cool. But, I loved what I did. I just really connected to it. And I just wanted to be the kind of casting director that would create the kind of space that if I was an actor, I would want to walk into.
Yeah. And I guess when you look back, I mean, obviously you see you've made the right decision. 10 Emmy Award winning awards, and your RDOs, 7 awards with them as well, and 32 years with General Hospital. I mean, it's just such an amazing success story for you, and you are a legend in Hollywood. And I'm wondering, because we get this question all the time from everyone tuning in, if anyone wanted to try and break into daytime, is there any specific skill set that they might need that's maybe a little different from
that's a great question. There's no skill set. We're looking for the same thing that they're looking for in movies and in primetime series: the best, most dynamic actor for a role. There's no trick. It's about the craft of acting and the right opportunity and the right moment for you. And that doesn't change whether it's daytime or primetime. There's no way to, I've had actors sometimes say, I really want to focus on daytime. And I'm like, well, that's a mistake. There's only 4 soaps and there are hundreds of other shows.
Yeah.
You need to focus on being the best actor you can be. And if it falls that you're in daytime or any other time, that's fantastic. Getting a job in any of the mediums is already challenging enough without trying to limit your focus. But there is no difference in the craft of acting for either medium or what it is we are looking for. Everybody's looking for the same thing: the magic on screen.
Magic on screen, right? You need to have that it factor. So what is the it factor to you?
For the series regulars, it's charisma, presence. It's a feeling you get. It's talent. It's soulfulness. Is this somebody that the audience is going to want to watch for the next 3 years or possibly more? Is there something compelling, interesting, dynamic about them? And that can have a wide range of interpretations, but we're looking for that really special person. And we're looking at for really the recurring roles as well. At the end of the day, whether we're casting an under 5 or a day player, we're still looking for the best actor, the most interesting actor we can cast in a role, whether it's a Dr. Lee or a villain on the show or, a one-day part. Every role is taken seriously by myself and my associate Lisa Booth in the casting department. We care about every role, regardless of the size of it.
You know, can we talk about some of these beloved characters on General Hospital?
Sure.
You know, fans just cannot get enough of. And when they leave or when they contemplate leaving, it's like, no! Steve Burton, who plays Jason, or Maurice, who plays Sonny. I mean, these two are characters who, I mean, they can be there until they're old and gray, and, you know, fans will still not want them to ever die, right? So what is it about them that makes them such good actors?
Well, they're both very intense. They're both very present. You feel their presence and intensity on screen when they're not even speaking. They're so dialed into the emotional complexity of the character. You know, Maurice, we brought Maurice in just to meet with us 30-ish years ago, and we gave him the choice of two different roles. You know, came in for a big meeting because he was pretty well known. He was very well known on All My Children, played character of Nico, and we had two parts coming up, and we brought him in, and he sat in a room, and he was offered one of two roles: the 6-month role or the series regular role. He chose the 6-month role, and he's been on the show for 30 years. So there you have it. He clearly chose the right role, and from day one, it was amazing. I mean, he plays, you know, the head of a crime family, but he's also a father, a mentor. You know, he's a very complex, dark character on the show, but because he's brought such complexity and humanity to it, he's kept what could have been just a bad guy and made him a bad guy that the audience roots for. And he's been very open in real life about bipolar disease and battling it. He's been on Oprah, he's written books, and they've written that into his character. So he's been able to draw on his life and bring that into his work, which has taken his work to a whole other level. Now, Steve auditioned for the show in 1991, and we were bringing in a bunch of guys for the callback, and at the last moment, the producer at the time said to me that she wanted all of the actors to be 6 feet tall. Well, that was a new spin. I did not know that. And it's really the first time I've ever been told I have to cast an actor of a certain height. So I felt on a gut level that Steve was the guy. So I went up and said, Steve, how tall are you? He said, I'm 5'10" and a half. I said, I need you to be 6 feet in 10 minutes. He was wearing high top Doc Martens. He was like he was a 19-year-old kid. And back in those days, there were these things called newspapers. And at General Hospital, there was always like a newspaper in the main waiting room. We grabbed the newspaper, we went in the bathroom, and we stuffed his shoes. And he went into the audition, and he was 6 feet tall. And he's been on the show for 30 years. I'm not saying it was because he was 6 feet tall, but that's one of my favorite all-time stories where we did what we had to do in that moment.
Is he still standing on newspapers?
He doesn't need to. He may not be 6 feet tall, but he acts.
Right. That's an amazing story. I love that. So now that we're into you know, divulging some of the behind the scenes secrets, can you tell us what's in store for the future of General Hospital, especially with one of our friends who is here on Casting Workbook, Cameron Matheson? So can you tell us what's in store with his storyline and what we're going to be seeing?
Well, we recently introduced him, and he finally was on air after much buildup. He's playing a character that was previously played by another actor. And again, making it his own. You watch it and he is the character. And currently he is in a foreign prison, trying to figure out what he's doing there and how he got there. And, you know, obviously we didn't bring him on the show to keep him in prison forever, but he's doing such a great job. And not only is a wonderful actor in person, but, you know, I watch him in the scenes with the day players that he's with, because he interacts with different guards, and he's got a cellmate, and just the way he is between takes, the kindness with the actors, because I have the monitor. So I'm watching the taping every day, and just seeing the way he is, he's so giving. And that's something that I always really look for with our actors. How are they with the people that come in for the 1-day episodes, the 2 that have a really hard job of coming into this well-oiled machine and bringing a scene to life. And he's wonderful with the other actors. I've told him that.
Well, he's very loved. I mean, from, you know, Hallmark movies to hosting ET and, you know,
Yeah.
being a daytime legend as well. I mean, General Hospital, wow, you guys are you're both very lucky to have him, right? I love the fact that we're talking about daytime, but I'm wondering, what do you see the future being like for daytime? You said before, I think back in the day, there was maybe 11 soap operas. Now there's 4. So how do you see the landscape of daytime soap operas going in the future?
Well, I hope it continues on the path it is. You know, when I did start on General Hospital, I believe there were 12 soaps.
Okay.
And now there are 4. And back then, 32 years ago, that makes me sound so ancient. Back then, but you know, there were no cable networks competing. There was no streaming. You had the big 3 networks, ABC, CBS, NBC, and a few syndicated channels, but it was really before the proliferation of cable, of streaming, and of game show and talk shows, this boom of less expensive programming. And unfortunately, soaps became a victim of that, where I think the networks had to make decisions based on, well, it's less expensive to produce a talk show or a game show than a daytime drama. But the 4 shows that are on the air are there because there is a real core audience.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing soaps have are loyal, passionate viewers that are very engaged every day. And that's an audience that is a very powerful audience to keep. And hopefully the networks that have the shows, I mean, it's us, Days of Our Lives, Bold and Beautiful, and Young and Restless. And I would love to see these 4 shows continue to be strong and popular and continue. I mean, we're also on Hulu. So, you know, unlike back in the day when you would record it on a VHS tape, audiences can watch any show they want in real time. So it's no longer, you have to watch it during daytime. You can watch it, you can record it on your DVR or watch it on Hulu. So because I think there's opportunity to watch these shows in a consistent basis, I'm hoping they're here for a long time.
I wanted to get your opinion on social media. You know, you were talking about daytime and the loyal following with daytime viewers and how, you know, they're always loyal. It's kind of like daytime viewership is like social media followers, where, you know, you want to grab and hold on to them because they're loyal as well. What do you think about actors and social media influencers? Do you consider them as talent, or would you even consider somebody who had a very large following on social media to come in for an audition, but no acting training?
You're asking a question that I get asked a lot.
Oh, good. Then I'm going to answer the real truth.
And I think that it's very dangerous for an actor to focus so much attention on social media at the expense of becoming the best actor they can be.
Yeah.
And I think because we live in this TikTok, Instagram, immediate fame kind of world, people think that that could be a hook in. I don't see that kind of thing translating into an acting career. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's a very high percentage of social media personalities becoming successful actors. I haven't seen it. That's not to say it doesn't occasionally happen, but it's almost like with reality shows. A lot of actors were using that as a jumping board, a springboard to acting work, and that didn't materialize for actors. I think that it's very dangerous to think that a social media presence will catapult an actor to an acting career. Because at the end of the day, you have to walk in the room and be amazing and beat out all the other actors. And to spend energy on social media at the expense of being in class and growing as an artist is a huge mistake. I always tell actors, if you want to get a social media presence, book an acting job. You'll have an amazing social media presence right after that, as opposed to the other way around. I've never had the experience where I've been asked by a producer or anybody, what's their social media?
Mhm.
That being said, I know that occasionally I've heard that actors have been asked about their social media presence. I think that's probably more in the world of indie films, maybe if it's between a couple of actors. But honestly, I don't know anybody that's experienced it, but I'm not going to say I haven't heard about it. I was on a panel speaking to SAG a couple of years ago, and one of the casting directors said, well, you know, I just worked in an indie film, and for the first time, they said to me, what's their social media presence? And it was the first time it ever came up. It was a low budget film, and they wanted kind of a hook, but it doesn't happen that much. I know I saw a commercial breakdown where they asked actors what their social media presence was. But again, I have not seen that a lot. And unless an actor has an incredible real social media presence, I don't think it matters whether you have 20,000 followers or 25,000, because I don't think that's going to translate into somebody watching that actor in a project. So maybe I'm old school. I respect social media, and I get it. And I'm on social media, and I see actors when they book things, and I'm like, oh, wow, they're doing NCIS, or wow, they're doing this, or maybe they posted a clip of something they've done. So I think social media is great for letting the community know this is what I'm doing. But to put the energy on constantly maintaining a social media presence, I think is energy that's misplaced.
Love that. Great advice from the one and only Mark Teschner. Thank you so much. Before we go, I'm going to do something new this season. Is I want to ask 5 questions to you, and you
Oh
can
boy,
answer them
pressure.
honestly. You can say rapid fire answers, whatever you'd like.
Okay,
What's the last thing you streamed or a movie you watched?
Squid Game.
Oh, really? Do you have nightmares from it?
No, I don't have nightmares, but it was pretty riveting. I usually am watching, 3 or 4 shows at once.
Okay.
I'm waiting for Succession to come back.
Yes. Favorite movie and why?
I'm old school. The Godfather.
Yes, that's an amazing
Every,
movie.
Godfather 1 and 2. 1
Okay.
and 2.
One and great.
Although a hidden gem is Cinema Paradiso, which is a beautiful Oscar. It's not a hidden gem. It won an Oscar. Italian movie that I watch every few years just to reconnect to something beautiful. It would be every amazing actor on Daytime that is not getting the recognition they should.
And this is why you are the best casting director ever. That's very sweet of you to say. Okay.
And I mean it.
I know you mean it. You're sincere with everything you've said with us today. So thank you. Okay. And if you could cast yourself in a movie or a series, who or what would it be, and what character would you play?
Oh boy. If it was a movie, I think I should be Maverick in Top Gun.
Oh.
And if it was a series, I'd love to be either part of the main family in Succession, Axe on Billions,
Okay.
or Quartermain on General Hospital.
That's amazing. I'm surprised that wasn't your number one. And
no, I had to really think about that.
Yeah. Okay. And last, what's your guilty pleasure?
I don't know that I feel guilty about any of my pleasures. I love what I do. And if I'm watching something, I'm not guilty about it. It's because I enjoy it. I don't think there should be such a thing as a guilty pleasure.
That's perfect. Thank you. And with that, I'm going to say, Mark Teschner, you take my breath away.
Well, Natasha, I love doing this. This is really fun and awesome. I was happy to be a part of it.
That was amazing. I don't know if anyone got my reference, but that was the Top Gun.
I got that.
Right?
I got that.
You did. The singing might not have been that great, but the sentiment was all there, Mark. Thank you.
I felt it. Totally my pleasure.
I hope to meet you one day in person once this pandemic is over, or we can have you back again here on the Working Actor.
Anytime, and that would be great.
Thank you so much. And it's almost 3:00, which means I'm going to go watch General Hospital.
I love it.